Welcome, everyone. I'm Kimberly Boscheman, and this is the Intentionally Intuitive Podcast. In this episode, we're going to take a look at the numerology and the energy for both the collective and the individual life path numbers for March 2022. As with all of these monthly videos, it's very important that you listen to the part for the collective because we are each a part of the collective. And that energy is what's really going to be potent during this time. And so it ties in with your individual life path number. That's why I don't put timestamps. This, of course, is a general reading. If you would like a personalized reading, please book some time with me. My information is in the description box below. I have also just recently started offering one-to-one, face-to-face over Zoom life path coaching with numerology. If this is something that you're interested in, this is an opportunity for a 1-hour session where we dive in deeply into your numerology chart to discuss anything you want to discuss that you're currently facing or that may be coming up for the future for you. If that's something that you're interested in, just book some time with me. I would absolutely love to meet you face-to-face and to work with you in that way. Okay. So let's go ahead and take a look at the energies for March. So March ushers in the universal cycle of the 9 energy. During this cycle, we can find that we're able to think more abstractly and not quite so rigidly when it comes to our belief systems and how we move through the world. 9 energy is that of the humanitarian. It's an energy that honors self while also bringing in service towards others. So by opening our minds and our hearts, we can begin to see things from a broader perspective where greater, more elevated solutions lie. Aligned 9 energy sets out to bring people together with an emphasis on equality and justice for all. It's an energy of no one being left behind because if someone is struggling, ultimately we're all struggling in some way. So where we can find ways to coexist while doing no harm, then we're able to be a part of the greater circle. If one is being pushed out from that circle, it creates a gap that in one way or another, we all end up feeling, especially energetically. So 9 energetic cycles help us to find ways to do our individual part for the greater good, for the collective, and to bridge the gap, which I think now more than ever, we could use this energy. So it's beautiful energy, especially for March, especially for this time in history. So definitely work with it the best that you can throughout the month and always, but it's very potent this month. This is also a completion cycle, so it can indicate attainment, things coming to fruition from past efforts, such as rewards, earnings, return of investments. This is going to be a situation where you've put in the effort previously and now you're seeing those things again coming to fruition or coming to closure, and it can be closure that's abrupt or it can be closure that you're just kind of tying up that bow really nicely and moving on to the next thing. It can also indicate things falling away so that new seeds can begin to grow, creating a greater foundation for your future cycles. Similar to when we sort of lose our baby teeth as children so that our adult teeth can come in, shedding what no longer works or no longer supports us for something that does. Though this isn't the best energy for sort of starting anything big or new, it's more of a time for setting the intentions and making the preparations for this cycle to begin, right? So this cycle can feel somewhat busier than normal with a lot of added responsibilities being added to your plate. You can see a tremendous amount of inspirations and ideas, psychic and intuitive downloads coming in for you now. Pay extra attention to your dreams at this time and any kind of, again, visions that you have, ideas, inspirations. Now, this isn't necessarily, like I said, this isn't the cycle where we would necessarily take action on those inspirations or those big ideas. Although, we have to go with what comes up for us. So if life dictates that you need to take action, then take action. Don't let this sort of prevent you from doing that. But this isn't the most supportive energy for big ideas taking root when we take action on them just yet. This is the time for the sort of the incubation period, the ideas coming in, sort of exploration of those ideas and those inspirations, and maybe planning and deciding how we want to take action on these ideas. And then in the months that follow, then taking those big risks, those big inspired action, right? So this is going to be a time again to really sink into the more ethereal, sink into the inspirations, the ideas, the dreams. The dreams are going to be coming in very vividly, very strongly for those of you that are especially sensitive to that. You could notice that, again, your intuitive powers are even stronger during this time. You could notice that, again, your psychic powers are much more profound at this time, much more vivid. So pay attention to that. A lot of times that can hold messages. So we just need to be open to it, take note of it, and then revisit it down the road if we need to. So this is not going to be a cycle where self-serving or overly self-indulgent endeavors be supported. Instead, broad compassion, kindness, understanding, and more evolved actions are the ones that will gain the most traction. Friendships and relationships of all kinds can prosper and grow during this time, especially those that hold a similar vision for the greater good. So pay attention to who enters your sphere at this time, your reality, your experience, or who re-enters your life now. They could play a key role in the journey ahead. So be open to who you meet and the messages that they hold and the wisdom that they've come to share. This could be very important for your journey forward. Be mindful not to sort of cling to or get overly attached to experiences, people, or emotions that have run their course and that need to be released. Replaying events or stories in your head only to beat yourself up with them aren't allowing you to move forward into a sort of greener pastures, right? We may need to sort of shovel the manure every now and then, but we certainly don't need to sit in it. So extract the wisdom, release the person, place, or thing with an open heart and with gratitude for their contribution, and move along. There is much more adventure to be had beyond the self-created gates that we often create for ourselves, right? Release that stagnant energy and look forward to the future with joy and high expectation for what awaits you around the next corner, for what you'll create from these big ideas, these big dreams, these big inspirations that could be coming in for you during this cycle. This is incredibly beautiful, ethereal, creative energy, and just a time again for exploration on the softer side of things. So definitely embrace it to the best of your ability. Again, the energy can be present. It's always what we choose to do with it that makes the difference. Okay, on to the life path number. Life path number 8. So I pulled an animal spirit card for you all for March, and you got Crow Spirit. So Crow has come to remind you that you will do your best work when you don't try to do it all alone, when you co-create with Spirit. And really what that means is, regardless of what your sort of belief system is, it's this idea of sort of merging the intelligence with the wisdom, the physical with the metaphysical, the mind with the intuition, and to know that as sort of spiritual beings in this human body, we do have limitations, right? We do have to sort of rely on the unseen to do its part, to help us in the manifestation process, to help us to create whatever it is that we're trying to create within the physical. And I think sometimes, especially for some of the more ambitious energies, like the 4, the 8, the 22, I think it's easy to forget that we aren't meant to do it all on our own. Like, this is a partnership. So, and a lot of times that can be challenging because we have to give up the control. We have to give up the control of understanding completely like how it's going to happen, the why behind it type thing. Like, we can know the why behind why we're doing it, like why we're showing up, why we're putting in this effort, all of that. But maybe we're not going to fully understand like how it's going to come to fruition. And we just need to trust. There's a lot of trust in that process, right? Especially in the creation process. So for 8s who, are so much a part of their energy is about taking that inspiration and those big ideas from the metaphysical and translating that into something within the physical. it can be easy to forget that it's not all on you, right? Like you have such a magnificent, expansive support team energetically that's helping you to create whatever it is that you're trying to create. It may look different than what you think it should look like. And I think that's the key to remember, that you don't have 100% control over whatever it is, right? Like that's life. And so I think the more that we can like remember to do our part, like get the ideas, the inspiration, follow that inspiration, and then turn the rest over to the unseen to do its part without trying to control or manipulate that process, because it'll only lead to frustration because we can't manipulate or control that process. The more that we can do that and just trust the sort of divine intervention, right? Or the divine process, the divine timing, the more comfortable the experience will become, the more we can take the pressure off ourselves, the more we will stop to, or the less we'll judge ourselves, right? The less shame that we'll sort of cloak ourselves in. So I think it's just really important, because with 8 energy, yes, it's very, it has dominion over the physical plane. Yes, it is about, business, power, wealth, finances, all of those things, philanthropy, all of those things within the physical realm. And it is part of the manifestation triad. So there is this strong manifestation energy. 8 energy is meant to create, is meant to, build something in the physical that is going to have some kind of an impact. Whatever that is. It can be around having a family or something like that, or it can be around building a business or being an entrepreneur or being a CEO or being a philanthropist, whatever. But there is definitely that large component of the 8 energy. It is very physical, but it's also very, very metaphysical. It's very in the ethereal. It's very spiritually aligned. And so I think sometimes it's easy to forget that, and it is a partnership. And the more that you can tie into or merge or marry those energies, not the easier, but the more comfortable the process becomes, and the more power you have behind you. So this is just a reminder from Crow Spirit to trust in the magic, to trust in your own intelligence, your own capabilities, your own wisdom, your own insight, and your own instincts and intuition and all those things, but to also trust the unseen, to trust that part that you can't control, and to believe that it's going to show up in the way that will best serve you to accomplish whatever it is that you need to accomplish for the greater good, right? For the good of all. So anything within your experience this month, especially, that you're trying to control to the point where it's just causing you stress, and you're sort of losing your fire and all that, and it's draining you, Crow has come in to remind you that you're not doing this alone. You're not meant to do this alone. And the more that you try to do this alone and try to have all that control, the more you're depleting yourself. So know your limitations, like know where your work ends and the universe's work begins. And try to nurture that partnership, as challenging as that can be, because sometimes, well, I would say never, the universe doesn't work on our timeline, right? Like the powers that be do not work on our timeline. And so as much as we try to control it or make it happen or feel like we're failing when we can't make it happen, we just have to understand that there are forces at play that are unseen, that play an important role in the process. And so the more, again, that we can go with the flow and trust that process while also honoring and staying true to our own intuition and our own wisdom and intellect, the more that we'll be able to really step into this energy, right? And to really, do it more comfortably, right? So that is Crow's energy coming in this week. So hopefully this month. So hopefully that's helpful as you move through the energies. So looking at the energies for March for you all, this is a pretty action-packed month. I know we're in a 9 cycle, and this is a lot of stuff coming to completion, and it's not necessarily a month to take big, bold risks or big, bold actions towards a vision, but I think you could see a lot coming in this month that will Be like those missing puzzle pieces, tie up some loose ends, bring a lot of clarity for what you need to move forward and to take those big risks in the months that follow. So this could be a really hectic month for you, actually, both energetically and physically. Okay, so the beginning of the month might be a little bit challenging, only because there's really big energy at play here. That's kind of like this opportunity for sort of an awakening around a situation that has sort of been maybe challenging for you. I feel like it's around relationships. Doesn't have to be like romantic relationships. It can be colleagues, friends, whatever. But there's something here around relationships where you're going to have the opportunity to have an incredibly profound aha moment. Major clarification coming in, major clarity, major clarity. Could be a major change in direction with a relationship that can feel really abrupt. And it's almost like the universe is coming and picking you up and moving you and setting you down somewhere else. And you're kind of like, what just happened? And it can feel disorienting. But I think it's important to remember that whatever it is that comes in is for your greater good, to like move you to where you need to be. There's also something here around like awareness, like really crystal clear awareness, whether that's self-awareness or awareness about your surroundings or your environment or the experience and how you've been showing up to that experience, or how others have been treating you and what you have been accepting versus, setting those healthy boundaries or whatever. But there's some major awareness coming in where it's going to be sort of like, once it comes in, it's going to be really hard to sort of unsee it or become, or to go back to sleep around whatever this is. So definitely a major aha moment coming in, major clarity. It does feel like sort of disruptive energy, but disruptive in the way that, again, it's almost like the universe has been trying to show you something, or your higher self has been trying to show you something with maybe signs or like messages or whatever. And we know that those can often be very cryptic. But it's almost like, or there's like an inner knowing, right? Going back to crow spirit, there's an inner knowing through your own intuition that you've been sort of negating or not paying attention to, that is now coming front and center and will not be ignored. So it's kind of like, again, the universe is coming in just to sort of reiterate that message, but loudly and clearly. So I think that there's going to be some kind of, again, awakening, awareness, major clarity coming in at the beginning of the month that you are meant to pay attention to. And again, feels like it's around relationships. So, and this could be how you're showing up to the relationship, or how others are showing up to you, and what adjustments you can make to make that a better experience, right? At least from your point of view, from your side. So anyway, I feel like some major clarity coming in for you all beginning of the month. Mid-month, we have some pretty big ideas coming in, some inspiration coming in that feel really, really emotionally fulfilling when it comes to resources, money, career, how you make money, stability. If there was maybe like an inspiration coming in for you on how to gain greater stability when it comes to a career situation or your finances, or maybe it's you all of a sudden buying a house or deciding to buy a house. Maybe that wasn't something that you were even looking at before, but now the inspiration comes in and you can see the benefits of doing that if that's something that speaks to you. But there's definitely something here around a big inspiration idea coming in out of seemingly nowhere. It almost doesn't seem related to anything that you've sort of been doing before. That's why I say, like, it's kind of like maybe you were somebody who, I don't know, like didn't ever want to own a house. And then you see the perfect house and all of a sudden the inspiration hits and you just feel emotionally, like you feel the emotional connection to whatever this is, right? And so you go for it. that's what I mean. Like, I feel like this idea or this inspiration is sort of left field, and it's not something that you normally would entertain, but it comes in and it's very big. And again, there's an emotional connection to it. You feel emotionally charged by it, but in a good way. And I feel like whatever this is sort of like an investment, something that can lead to long-term stability. And it doesn't have to be buying a house, right? It could be like choosing to apply for a promotion or start a side business that has the potential to blow up into something where that becomes your primary business, whatever. But this feels very much around like material things. So this could also be like, again, this big idea that comes in and that you feel that emotional connection. And so again, this is not necessarily the month to take those big actions. However, with this, I feel like whatever this is, there's something here around understanding that it's going to take time. It's not something where you're going to see instant gratification around this necessarily, unless it's like buying a house or something like that. But if it's something around like building something or working towards a vision or a goal, just know that this is something that's going to take time for it to fully come to fruition, for you to be able to sort of reap those rewards. And I think that's really where Crow Spirit is coming in as well, to remind you that this is a partnership and to release the control where you need to release the control, and to understand that if it's meant for you, it's going to show up when it needs to. You just need to continue to take your action where you need to take that action. This is definitely something that could potentially lead to something very stable and financially rewarding for you. End of the month, if there's something around, we're back to like career, collaboration, working with people, that sort of thing. If there's something career centered that has felt incredibly challenging and like it's taken forever, I feel like you're moving into calmer waters with this. I feel like this is a time where you're going to be moving into something where you can now start to see like how, why it's taken so long. You can kind of piece the puzzle together. And you can kind of see the bigger vision, the bigger picture, to understand like, okay, I understand like why this couldn't have happened 6 months or a year ago, and why it's now starting to come to fruition. Definitely something big here around relationships, working with others, collaboration, you being the expert at something and others coming to you for that expertise. Like maybe you've been in the process of mastering something that previously you just weren't ready to share that wisdom, right? Like you had to maybe get to this point first before you could feel like you had the confidence to feel like you could share this in the way that you need to share it so that it can be beneficial. But it does feel like it's been like a long road. It feels like it's been a journey. But I do feel like you are now moving into sort of more prosperous times, or more just calmer waters, right? Where it doesn't feel like such a struggle. Things just seem to start to flow much more beautifully around whatever this is. But there's definitely something here about you being the leader or the expert at something, but also working alongside of others. So taking their ideas into consideration and incorporating those ideas in a way that works for everyone. So there's definitely something here around that as well. And I think that if you can do that, or the more that you can do that, the more that you'll see whatever this is sort of prosper. And this could also be you, again, collaborating and understanding that partnership with the unseen. So however that comes in for you. But I hope this was helpful. Thank you all so much for listening. Take care, eights. Bye for now.